Don't kiss.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, March 5th, 2020. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination episode 1222.
This is No Agenda.
Selling flip phones and broadcasting live from Opportunity Zone 33 in the frontier of Austin, Texas, capital of the drone star state. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where we are reeling from Joe Rogan fever, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
All right, I have to tell you, and I'm sure you know this, I have been incredibly nervous since I got home last night because there are only really two people in the world I trust to tell me the truth. Tina, of course, but yeah, she loves me. And there's you. And the fact that you have not tweeted, retweeted, made a comment, or anything about the Rogan appearance has me, and I know I fucked up some things, but has me very concerned.
I only got to the psilocybin part, so I am not.
Oh, my God.
I haven't heard the whole thing.
Oh, my God. Really? Oh, okay.
I had a show to do.
Yeah, me too. I know. I also traveled.
Yes, you probably had more to do than I did.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well,
but
yes,
my daughter watched the whole thing.
Oh, well, that's even better.
Which kept me clued in, yes. And I got to have a report.
Wait, before the report, let me just mention a few things that I'm embarrassed about and pissed about. Okay. One, although it was mentioned very nicely by Joe in the intro to the podcast, which is really what matters. That's where the bulk of everything comes from.
When I saw the podcast, there was no intro. You were halfway through the podcast. He started off, "Hey, by the way, we're on the air." And then
no. That I think that must have been the YouTube. The podcast itself, the audio.
Yes, YouTube's what I watched.
The audio version starts off, and he said, "Adam Curry, No Agenda Show," because not at a single point ever did I mention the URL noagendashow.com. That is an incredible faux pas. And this was also pointed out by
within you had 3 hours and you never said noagendashow.com?
Well, we talked a lot about No Agenda and different, No Agenda Art Generator and No Agenda Shop, but I never actually said No Agenda Show. When I had the opportunity, I foolishly completely spaced and did not promote animated No Agenda. Very, very disappointed in myself.
Oh, that's why she said she's not going to do any more.
Also, I forgot to mention Dave Jones, who built the Freedom Controller. I had an opportunity to say that, and he deserves that credit. And I know I'm in big trouble because I did not give a shout out to Justin, the drug dealer. So those are the things I know that I goofed up on. But I'm happy to hear the report.
You were twitching,
yep.
And people were making comments about it, and I saw that, and I didn't think it was anything out of the ordinary. It wasn't out of control.
Well, let's just talk about that for a second.
You apparently were blinking a lot.
Yes. Well, let's just talk about it for a second. I already knew that I would never be able to relax enough to have a great conversation and get through however long we were going to talk. So I did have in my mind my secret weapon, which I deployed about an hour into the show. And I said, hey, let's smoke some weed, because then I can tell you about how crazy my Tourette's is. And we had a nice chat about it, and that at least made me feel comfortable myself, fully cognizant that I'm ticking and twitching away and I'm out of control when I'm on weed. What's interesting about this in the comments, because I looked at some comments on YouTube and stuff, so people would be like, Adam, blink 3 times if you're in danger.
Yeah.
But a common one was, dude is on Adderall. He's tweaking. He's completely coked out. I got a lot of that, which I thought was interesting. But I also got some people who have some possible fixes and say, well, this may not be actually Tourette's. It may be what is it? It's the there's a couple of books on somatic experiencing.
Yeah.
And so apparently, if you have this trauma that is stuck here, flight, fight, freeze that happens during traumatizing events, and how the limbic system and nervous system keep memories in the body. So it could be that when I get tense or something's triggering it, it's something very old is stuck in there. That's very possible. So there may be some solutions for me yet.
I'm sticking with the Tourette's if anybody wants to know why.
Okay.
You can ask me why.
Hey, why?
Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. Only 8 cars today. This effort.
Economy is stable.
The reason I say that is because I saw that I've talked to you about this before. I saw this really 2 or 3 hour special on Tourette's, which I was very sympathetic with, you and I can talk about your Tourette's and all the rest of it. And one of the elements of all Tourette's sufferers, as they like to put it, is their neat freaks.
OCD.
Yeah. And you are one of those.
Yeah, although I still kind of disagree with you on that, but
well, that would be typical.
Yes. Yeah.
But that's why I thought Scott Adams had Tourette's, because he blinks a lot, and he's very fastidious.
Well, Joe was really cool about it. I got to tell you, I had a really good time. It
looked like you guys got along.
We got along.
That was my only concern, to be honest about it.
Oh my God, we fell into it right away. We're like, and he's really nice. He's a very, very nice guy. Not that I expected him not to be, but it's just like, wow, dude, you're super, super nice. He even called me last night, although some unknown number comes through, so I'm like, no, reject. And then he texted me, and he said that he really enjoyed it. I think that's kind of if the host of the show contacts you after the show and says that was cool, then I think that's...
It's like sitting down with Carson.
Oh, well, I said that literally. I said, this is the Tonight Show of our era. And man, it's the stuff that is coming in, John, this is going to be so good for the show. Listen to this. Hey, Adam, I'm the director of content partnerships at Audio Boom. We host, distribute, and monetize podcast content. I wanted to reach out to see if you'd be interested in working with Audio Boom to help you secure some sponsorship opportunities for your podcast.
Yeah, dude, that's what I like about it, guys. They don't even bother listening to the show. They don't know anything about it, and they're starting to offer. This is like you're going to get a lot of this. Hey, we've got a guest for your show that you'll love.
Well, yes, I've already gotten those, and I've gotten a lot of. Hey, come on my show. It's happening. I'm peaking. My show is breaking out. You got to be on the show. Also, by the way, I regret I didn't plug Grimerica. They deserve to plug. And I didn't even have to watch the show or listen to it to know I'd forgotten these things once I was in the hour-and-a-half traffic going back to LAX after the interview. That was interesting. Smoke a blunt with Rogan and then hop on the 405 to the 101. Woo!
Well, at least you don't have to worry about getting into a high-speed accident.
No, that's true. That's true. So anyway, yeah.
Well, it seemed like it was a winner. And my daughter thought it was good. She thought that that Rogan kind of slapped you aside when you tried to really promote the show.
Really? I never even tried.
Except for one time.
That's interesting.
So she felt that you were not being allowed to plug the show much.
That's interesting. I mean, in 3 hours, and we talked about all kinds. I mean, I talked about you a lot, actually.
Oh, that's sweet.
Specifically, I said...
Did he get my name right, or am I still Bill Dungus, or whoever I thought it was before that?
I don't think he ever I don't think he ever actually used your name. But I was saying, these Christmas cards with mushrooms on it. I said, I know Dvorak he collects those. He has those. Did you get the whole mushroom Santa Claus bit, or you didn't get that far yet?
I didn't. No, I told you I ended at the.
Well, it was right around the
mushrooms.
It was right around there. So
I probably came after.
Yeah, and some other things. Okay.
Well, I'm glad you did it. It sounds like a good idea. And now you're going to get harassed by people who want to book guests.
Yeah, on our show. Yeah, we got a great guest for No Agenda Show. Everybody, this Audio Boom pitch is funny. Yeah. Our sales team is able to land host read spots for podcasts collecting around 10,000 listens an episode. Wow. This is great. We can land a host read spot.
Yeah. It's good for $45.
Yeah. Anyway, highly recommend staying at the Marriott at LAX. That's a great hotel. I'm so happy you taught me to do this. It is so smart. Yeah. It's so smart. And, I had an 8 a.m. flight the next morning, so I just, go down. Yeah, but
in fact, those super early flights, which you end up taking a lot when you're someplace else, are so inconvenient. But it's like the only flight you can get.
If you want, direct flight.
God, I got to leave the hotel at 5:30 in the morning. Why am I even here?
Well, and that's why you get a hotel at the airport.
Yeah, then you just slop out of bed, walk to the gate, you're there.
Well, not quite. You got to pop on the shuttle from the Marriott, but that was okay. That was okay.
I like the ones that are actually inside the airport itself.
Yes, like in Amsterdam.
And Gatwick has that.
But the thing about the Marriott is they have the Hertz rental office right there in the hotel. So
that's nice.
Yeah, that was and the car, they have like a 20 car lot there, so everything was there. So it was perfect for doing that. Anyway, on the travels, no pre-check, of course, traveling alone, not with the keeper, my magical pre-check lady. So none of that. And it was interesting to see how people were dealing with coronavirus. The first thing I noticed is they still have the damn Zika signs up in the TSA line. I mean, someone's got to work on the print shop there.
Hey, come on, guys, roll into one thing. In fact, which brings us to a clip. Oh,
do tell.
Where is this clip? Yeah, this is it. Now, this is the talking about you got to move. If you're going to move from one thing to another, you got to move. And this is a good example. This is the Ebola's over.
The World Health Organization had some good news about a virus that's plagued the world for quite a bit longer than coronavirus, Ebola. The Congo's discharged its last Ebola patient, raising hopes there that the end of the outbreak may be in sight. The Congo's been hit hard for over a year and a half, losing over 2,200 people to the contagion, the second worst Ebola outbreak in history. It was compounded by security concerns, including lawless areas that medical workers had difficulty reaching for fear of militants or criminal groups. But now it's been 2 weeks since the last new case was confirmed. At this rate, officials may declare the Ebola outbreak over in a matter of weeks.
Obama, Ebola, as that song grows. Ebola's gonna kill us all. Ebola.
Well, glad I could play some jingles then. We got a little mileage out of them just before it went away. Went away for good, the Ebola. Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah, we're rid of Ebola.
If it was as bad as it is, how come it only killed 2,200 people, especially in the areas where we had, terrorists that didn't allow that?
Well, we remember the phony baloney CNN footage of kids like laying down on the street the minute the camera panned to them. It's just weird reporting. Don't really know exactly how severe it was. What was interesting on the flight to L.A. was the face masks. There were some masks, and I have to say, props to L.A. They were designer. I saw a lady with an actual Gucci face mask on the plane.
Yes, props to L.A.
Oh, my goodness. My goodness.
And by the way, they don't want, apparently these masks don't work. And everybody and all the medical people say these masks don't work, and people are hoarding them, and they don't like the fact that they're hoarding them. And if you have any, give them to the medical people, because apparently if they don't work, they somehow work for the medical people.
Well, I understood it differently. My understanding is the mask, and if you think about a surgical situation, these are surgical masks. You look at the surgical situation, and in the operating room, the doctors and the nurses, everyone's wearing a mask. Why? Are they afraid of some virus jumping out of the cut open body? No, it's so they don't hawk their stuff and viruses out into the sterile environment. So it's really more for sick people. And so when someone's wearing a mask, I think you're probably sick. That's if you have it, that's when you should be wearing a mask. Not if you don't have it. I agree. I don't think they're going to be particularly effective.
Well, who knows?
Yeah. But the most important thing for me, and luckily I got an email back this morning, Sir Patrick Coble, the Duke of the South, is safe. It was pretty bad what went down in Tennessee, and it made landfall only about 20 miles east of where he is. His direct family and friends are okay, but he has friends and friends of friends who are in the hospital, lost their house, lost family members.
Tornadoes. For people out there that don't know what Adam's talking about.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, and actually, thank you, because it was so pushed down in the news and it was kind of sick compared to the news about coronavirus. It's like, wow, could you just mention the 19 people minimum who just died in Tennessee and like in Nashville? Like,
and what a wreck. What a mess.
Oh.
Now, it was pushed down, but on the networks, it was not at the top of the news because COVID-19, but it was up there. It was like either the second or third story. And it was in the first block, so it wasn't pushed down that much.
Yeah, but you know, the incessant hammering that you get is just like, oh, please, stop the hammering. So karma for everybody in Nashville and Murfreesboro, because they need it right now. No rain stick can help with that.
Now let's. I do want to get some. I have some COVID-19 clips.
Okay, I got a lot. Would you rather do Super Tuesday before we go into? Because I got a lot of Kung Flu stuff.
Super Tuesday,
or not. I mean, however you feel about it. Let's do some COVID-19. Screw the Tuesday.
Let's start with the update then. This is the COVID-19, the ship, and the update. This is ABC's wrap.
Okay.
In Los Angeles, a state of emergency. In New York City tonight, about 1,000 people are now under self-quarantine, all possibly coming in contact or linked to one man who was hospitalized in critical but stable condition tonight. His wife, 2 children, and a neighbor all testing positive. One of his children, a college student, classes canceled there. In Los Angeles, that state of emergency, 6 new cases there, including an airport worker doing medical screenings at LAX. The death toll in the U.S. rising to at least 11 tonight. The first death from California, a passenger on a cruise ship during a round-trip voyage from San Francisco. ABC's Wade Johnson leading us off with the efforts to contain the virus here in New York and across the country.
Tonight, a scramble to contain the spread of the coronavirus in New York. About 1,000 people ordered to self-quarantine, all possibly connected to one patient in this hospital.
That is another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. And again, all of this one attorney. They're going to be hundreds in Westchester.
That 50-year-old father now hospitalized in Manhattan in critical but stable condition. His wife, 2 kids, a neighbor who drove him to the hospital, and another family connected to his law firm testing positive too. The number of cases jumping to 11. A local public school district now closing to disinfect the buildings. In California tonight, health officials say this Grand Princess cruise ship is likely linked to the state's first death from the coronavirus and a second infection. An elderly patient possibly exposed while traveling from San Francisco to Mexico. The CDC now investigating a small cluster of cases of COVID-19 in Northern California traced back to that ship.
There is almost nothing as infectious as fear. It's really being played hard on us now.
Well, you want to see, okay, well, I'm going to skip to my good clips.
Well, that was just an update, a backgrounder. I get it.
Well, let's go to COVID-19 death rate higher.
The World Health Organization said Tuesday the global death rate from the disease caused by the new coronavirus is 3.4%, far deadlier than the seasonal flu. The warning came as the number of coronavirus deaths outside China surpassed the number inside China for the first time. Washington State Tuesday reported another coronavirus death, the 9th in the region. In New York, Mayor Bill de Blasio said Tuesday a Manhattan lawyer has become the second person in the city to test positive for the new coronavirus.
You know, I love it when they just throw all these numbers out. And I saw Pooper on CNN do one that he didn't even correct, and it was reading right from the prompter.
Just moments ago, the death toll climbing to 105 cases across the United States. 6 people have died, all in Washington state, 4 of them residents of a nursing care facility near Seattle.
So what he meant to say was 105, over 110 cases, but he said the death toll.
Yeah. Of course. Well, it makes nothing but sense if you listen to this clip. This is right from CBS. They ran this thing, and it seems to be a long clip. It's 1:49. It actually went for about 2.5 minutes. And this was an expert from Harvard.
Oh,
the expert, the guy who's going to tell us how many people are going to get infected and how many people are going to die.
Well,
wait a
minute. We all know who's going to die, don't we?
Who?
Oh.
We're all gonna die.
We're all going to die.
Worldwide, the coronavirus.
I'm sorry?
this is coming close to saying that.
Worldwide, the coronavirus death toll now tops 3,000 with nearly 90,000 cases. But even those numbers are nothing compared to what could happen in the months ahead. Today, CBS News' Jim Axelrod spoke with one of this country's top experts from Harvard on viruses who has a startling prediction.
The number that I think is grabbing a lot of people is this estimate. 40 to 70% of the world's adult population could be infected.
Yes.
Accurate?
That is, it's a projection, so we will find out if it's accurate as things go on. It is a best estimate that I've been able to make based on a combination of the mathematical models that we use to track and predict epidemics.
So in terms of addressing the numbers that may get people panicked, what can you tell us?
Well, again, the 40 to 70% is a number a proportion of the population, adult population infected. And we know that some people who get this infection have no or almost no symptoms whatsoever. What we don't know is how many there are like that. So if, say, that's half the people, then the 1% or 2% that we're seeing in the symptomatic people is cut down by half.
Right.
Whatever the number is, it's going to take a toll. If it really does spread as widely as that projection says, and that's what I think is likely to happen, then there are going to be millions of people dying, and I don't think there's any way to get around that. And so I think there's real reason for people to be concerned.
Thank you for spending an extra couple minutes on that. That was worth it.
Now, I've noticed I've marked this clip archive because if you do the calculations that this guy said, that means 200 million Americans are going to get infected.
At least one of us, too, is going to be dead.
Well, actually, 3.5% of the two of us will be dead. but if you take that number and you go 3.5, that means we're going to have 7 million dead Americans by the time this thing is over. And by the way, World War II, 400,000 dead Americans.
Yeah.
So we're going to have 7 million dead Americans. That's what this guy just said.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't do the math for us, but I'm doing the math.
Yeah.
But that's what he said. So let's just even cut that in half to 3 million. Let's cut that down to 1 million, which is slightly not even close to his numbers.
Yeah,
so there's going to be a minimum of 1 million dead. I'm not buying this.
No, of course not.
Bring out your dead.
Of course not. And it was a lot of odd things happened. So I when I got in Monday in LA, I watched a lot of TV. I watched a lot of local TV because they were gearing up for Super Tuesday and everything. And it's the way, let me put it this way. Having traveled out, I didn't see, except for the Gucci, the odd Gucci face mask, I didn't see people overly worried. I didn't see people standing, within 3 feet from other people. I didn't see any of this. No one's afraid to shake my hand. None of this. Now, there are people who are susceptible, a large amygdala stuff, and they get very tripped out by it. But really, this is an incredible virus it's a media virus. And it really affected the stock market. And we've seen this, of course, in interesting ways. And then the Federal Reserve cuts the rate while the rest of the G7 countries are saying, well, they're waffling, like we don't know what we're going to do with our interest rate. Of course, they have negative interest rates. I don't know what they're going to cut. They're just going to start handing out money to people on the street. Here you go. Here's your debt, whatever they're going to say. I think that was an odd move. And you see the things that are being canceled. Let me just have a little list here. We have MIP TV. MIP TV. This is,
and by the way, there's an investment opportunity for people like shorting the market.
Oh yeah.
I think all these entertainment venues are going to be toast if this even just dawdles on any longer. One more month.
So we have, and this is very strange what's going on. Austin, you'd expect Austin to be lockstep in on this. Mayor Adler has said, no, we're not considering canceling South by Southwest. And let me tell you, next to Formula One, South by Southwest is the moneymaker for Austin. So while I totally agree with him, I'm not sure exactly why he's doing this. This is not his normal stance when it comes to nut job stuff. But everyone's pushing back. Netflix is now joining the growing South by Southwest exodus over coronavirus worry, so they're pulling out of South by Southwest. This thing's going to get canceled. There will be no stopping it.
We've had 2 or 3 or 4 events in San Francisco. The Google I/O. I think there's an Apple thing. Maybe there's a couple other conferences. 4 conferences, and that's San Francisco has enough trouble attracting conferences nowadays with all the poop on the street and the homelessness.
It's hard enough.
Now they're just canceling out of
They've canceled the city. Done. Well, how about this for a cancellation?
Before we go tonight, some very bad news for Bond fans. The release date for the new James Bond film, No Time to Die, has been pushed back by 7 months to November. It's nothing to do with an evil villain or a femme fatale. Nope, it's the coronavirus. Producers say they acted after an evaluation of the global marketplace. But actually, the founders of 2 James Bond fan sites had called on the studio to delay the movie's release because of fears of infection in theatres. Well, we'll just have to look forward to seeing it at Thanksgiving instead. I'm Laura Trevelyan.
Now, let me say that to cancel or to postpone the launch of a Bond movie
for 7 months,
that is not cheap. They were ramping up. They were getting going. They already got, the theme song was being promoted with what's her face, Billie Eilish. They've got trailers running. This is like wow. And now I understand if they really think theaters won't be full in a few months. Okay, I get it. But what are you really propagating? Italy, everything's shut down now. Willow couldn't travel to Spain. Everything's shut until March 15th minimum. The Ultra March Festival in Miami, big music festival, canceled. It's like, meanwhile, over in the financial world, you've got a whole different kind of analysis, at least ones that I picked up to share.
I understand that, but
this is you're going to hear Ray Wong. He's from Constellation Research, one of these financial research firms.
I understand that, but when is the spread going to be under control?
I think by May we're going to realize that this is just like any other virus. It's in the population. It impacts about 0.1 to 0.5% of the people. But it doesn't look like it right now, and people are completely scared in a media-induced panic.
Wait a minute. A media-induced panic? Tell me more.
Yeah, it is, because what's happening is if you so we know a lot of friends that are actually doing the testing. People are going to the hospitals, they're getting pulmonary panels, and in the pulmonary panels they're finding the original coronavirus, not COVID-19. They're finding rhinovirus, right? This is prevalent in the population, and when you look at some of the Johns Hopkins studies, it's going to be 40 to 60% of the population is going to have it in the population, and 0.1% is going to be fatal, and a lot of people are going to get sick just like the flu. But right now it is so hard to figure that out because we're short on facts. We're short on information. We don't trust what's coming out of China, and we don't know what's in the U.S. population because we haven't tested the population yet. And so,
yeah, there you go. What?
Well, along those same lines, this to complicate matters more. Besides what he said, which is a good clip, play the COVID-19 2 strains.
And I wanted to get your reaction to this global headline tonight. China, there's a new study out tonight showing that there could be 2 strains of this coronavirus.
Which we see, for example, in other viruses like influenza. This small study out of China showing 2 strains, one more common, one more transmissible. We don't know yet about which one is more common here in the U.S.
Somewhere I think I had a 2 strains clip. Let me try this on you. This is just more of the media hype, and this was very telling to me. This was Margaret Brennan. By the way, is she related to John Brennan in any way?
I hope not. They don't look the same.
No kidding. This is Face the Nation, and she has Alex Azar on, our Health and Human Services Secretary, who I think is doing a pretty reasonable job. He's taking a lot of incoming. His beard looks super douchey, though. I don't know what's up with that. But I think she was really trying to do a couple things. She was trying to cause uncertainty around the president's handling of the situation. And she was pushing so hard, and we'll just play a couple clips. They're all short. then there's one thing that kind of caught me and like, oh, they're really trying to do something with the president. Of course, to discredit him, use it politically, use this politically. We've seen it building, but I think she was on board and was giving this a shot. This first one is, oh, well, of course, we wanted the answer. Well, who was wrong? Trump said it was a woman. It was a man. He doesn't know it. Everything's messed up.
The president yesterday, when he was speaking, referred to this fatality as a woman. It is a man. How is a mistake like that made? Because people are very nervous right now.
Very nervous.
Getting some of these basic facts.
Basic facts.
Right. Affects public trust.
Well, I understand that. It's a very fast-moving situation. Our Centers for Disease Control and Prevention were up late at night, very early in the morning, working with the Washington State Public Health Office, and inaccurately recorded that the individual was a female. That's what the president was briefed on. They've apologized for incorrectly briefing on that, but it's a very fast-moving situation. Obviously, we regret the error.
Wrong answer.
Hold on.
It was the wrong answer. It was the wrong answer. Go ahead. I'll go say what you want.
Well, first of all, with all this bullshit about gender bias.
That's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say. That was the right thing. Who are you to determine what gender that person was, Miss Brennan? That's the answer.
Well, and the other answer, if you want to take it to something more sensible, is what difference does it make?
Thank you. Good point. Well, it's because it's going to be bad, people.
So in France, they shut down the Louvre Museum. They're telling people don't kiss.
Well, that's a stupid museum anyway. Who cares?
Don't shake hands. In Japan,
did they really tell people don't kiss in France?
Don't kiss.
So in France, they shut down the Louvre Museum. They're telling people don't kiss, don't shake hands. In Japan, they're closing schools for a month. Canada's health minister told his people to start stockpiling food. In the U.S., there are closures, as we just said, in Washington and in Oregon. They've declared a state of emergency out there. And the CDC said this week disruption to everyday life might be severe.
Might. That's
what does that mean? I mean, Americans hear this.
What does it mean? Well, it means might. It could happen, lady.
And they are concerned. There's about a 2% fatality rate.
And I appreciate that people are concerned, and that is why we're being radically transparent about what we know and also what the full range of potential scenarios could be. And that's why we say might be, but also might not be with aggressive containment and mitigation steps. Right now, it's important for people to understand we're not advising any types of particular measures in the United States like travel restrictions or closures. State or local public health offices, which are the front lines of response, might make their own decisions to do that. But at this point, we do not have sufficient spread in the United States that would indicate those measures, but we're not taking any of them off the table. The full range of options will always remain on the table.
So now she's continuing to try and make it all sound scary, and she has a very worried look on her face. But then the monkey comes out of the sleeve, as I like to say. And she brought something up which I hadn't heard.
In a crisis, you need public trust.
Mm-hmm.
And
again, with the public trust, jeez.
Inspector General announced this week that they are looking into this complaint by a whistleblower.
Did you know of any whistleblower complaint?
Oh, here we are again with the whistleblower.
So they tried another whistleblower scam, and here it is.
That they are looking into this complaint by a whistleblower that your agency did not provide adequate training or equipment to those workers who went to receive and welcome back Americans who had been evacuated from Wuhan, China. And those workers were not tested for the virus after they had that contact. Have you personally looked into these allegations?
Yes, we are looking into these allegations. I'm personally involved in doing so.
So can you say that this wasn't something that tipped off the spread on the West Coast?
So she's trying to make the assumption that because she uses fancy words, but how about Orange Man bad? Trump was not prepared, and people didn't have protective stuff, and now people are dying. The spread of the West, it's your fault.
That is absolutely not the case. So first, we take the protection of our employees very seriously. Second, we want to make sure isolation and quarantine procedures are followed as appropriate. Third, we appreciate the whistleblower bringing forward any concerns. We are aggressively looking into to see whether there's validity to the concerns. But what the American people should need to know is that we now have passed well over 14 days since any HHS employee had contact with the individuals involved. Nobody is symptomatic. Nobody has the disease.
even if these allegations prove to be true, there was no spreading the disease from this, and we have offered, even though it is not medically indicated, we have offered to test any HHS employees involved. If they would like that extra peace of mind, we want to do that for employees.
All right, so clearly someone was trying to roll out another whistleblower scam. If it, where's the true whistleblower complaint? Come on, Margaret Brennan, this is just bullcrap.
This is very disappointing.
Oh, well,
I always thought Margaret Brennan had a little more scruples than this.
No, she got old, rusty scruples. No good. Then she led into, I think, is the trap, and the trap that Trump set. And if you recall, this coronavirus, as we discussed, is very coincidental in the overall plan that Trump appears to have had for decades of reigning in China, although at first it was Japan, and then Japan messed it up themselves, and then he was thinking about China, and that was to bring back manufacturing, repatriate the money so people could build factories again, then mess with them with sanctions, with trade, and get them in a weak spot. And then, amazingly, coronavirus pops up, and it just messes with China really big, and we don't seem to be that worried over here. But anyway, what is the thing we should be worried about?
Do you expect drug shortages, as some senators have highlighted concerns there could be because of disruption to the supply chain?
So we're very concerned about the intermingling of our supply chain with China in particular. The FDA has gone out and worked proactively with drug manufacturers, and there are 20 drugs for which the entire molecule or a critical element of the molecule is made exclusively in China. And so we're working aggressively with the manufacturers to determine if there are any shortages. We are aware of one drug which has many, many replacements in terms of that therapeutic class available that may be in shortage for a short period of time. But I'm not able to, because it's commercially confidential information that's submitted voluntarily to us, I'm not able to discuss that. But this is a drug in a class where there are many, many, many alternatives available. It's a generic drug, very available.
What do you think it is? Lipitor?
Well, it would have to be something with a lot of...
Lipitor has a lot of generics, doesn't it?
I think Lipitor could be one of them.
Mm-hmm.
For all we know, it could be Viagra or Viagra.
Hey, now that would cause a panic. I've said this.
So you don't want to mention this.
Hey, man, we can't mention the boner pill problem. Anyway, here's Trump, and he's laying it out. He's now basically spiking the ball in the end zone, the way I see it.
The coronavirus shows the importance of bringing manufacturing back to America so that we are producing at home the medicines and equipment and everything else that we need to protect the public's health. And I've been talking about this for a long time. That process has already started. It started long before we ever knew about this. We want to make certain things at home. We want to be doing our manufacturing at home. It's not only done in China, it's done in many other places, including Ireland, and a lot of places make our different drugs and things that we need so badly, and it's not good to be dealing with one or two or three countries, and we do very little at home, and we're going to start doing it at home, and we've been talking about that for a long time. And a lot of the drug companies, because of what we've done in terms of incentives and taxes, they're heading back here anyway.
There you go.
A couple of things. This also probably relates to his visit to India.
Of course, it's the backup
the
nation.
Biggest supplier of drugs.
Well, in fact, the way I understand it, a lot of those core materials, or whatever the molecule, whatever Azar was talking about, they go from China to India, and India actually puts most of the drugs together. But the core elements, that comes mainly from China. But
now, just as an aside, I do have a story that comes from an intelligence source that comes from the India-Sri Lankan nexus of spy works.
Oh my goodness. This is a good one.
This is the way the story kind of goes, is that the United States had and we noticed this because there was a number of people busted, some professors and a bunch of other
trafficking stuff, and then
they were stealing some of the elemental bio warfare material straight up from some of our labs, and one guy got caught walking out with a bunch of vials, as you recall.
Yep.
according to this source, the United States is well known in intelligence circles, even though it's not brought out in our public, to do booby traps. And the weaponized
Wait a minute. You mean kind of like a tag on a dress or that you take with you out of the store and then you try to peel it off and it blows up and red ink all over your face?
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
And so apparently a lot of people suspect, nobody knows this for sure, that this virus was stolen from the United States, but it was booby-trapped to begin with. And it was designed specifically to target Han Chinese, which is what keeps coming up in the conversation. Yep. People with lung structures a lot of smokers, for example.
We still have no reported cases in all of Africa. Where there's a million Chinese by itself. They're not even affecting the Africans.
And by the way, when we listen to these reports, I don't like hearing all these reports from New York and elsewhere about the dead guy, this guy, or this guy's sick, and this guy's another, without some ethnic reporting.
I agree. Age and ethnic. No,
yeah,
on
how
that.
old? Well,
on
we know
that. Listen,
in New York, the guy's 50. We know that.
Listen to this. I'm watching Saturday Night Live, and you may, I don't know, you don't really watch that, do you? You didn't see that.
No.
Chris Redd, one of the SNL players, is doing the Weekend Update, and at the end of Weekend Update, in the applause, see, I clipped it. See if you can hear what he says to Colin Jost as they're saying goodbye, getting out of the segment.
It's just a cruise. Hop on. We good. Chris Redd, everyone. Black people can't get the coronavirus.
Did you hear it?
Something about the coronavirus.
Here.
Black people can't get the coronavirus.
He says, black people can't get the coronavirus. It's true. How about that, huh?
Wow.
Wow, does he get to do those secret messages? I'm sure.
I don't know what the deal is.
I'm sure the black community, I'm sure black people watch him and go, damn, I heard it. He said it. We're good. If I heard that, I'd be pretty happy.
So the point is that this is maybe part of Trump's grand scheme because, as you said in the earlier clip, he was spiking the ball over this.
Yeah.
Well, our media is not helping anybody by panicking the public. All the toilet paper is gone, as I can tell.
Well, we knew that would happen.
That's thanks to my mother.
Yes, your mom predicted that. The sage, Nostradamus Dvorak, she predicted it decades ago. Hysterical pet owners fearing